This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Where you go, Auburn fans? Welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson. I'm also here with Jared Davis. We've got to win. We beat Cal, just barely. It felt miserable,
Did we
but we got through.
Did we win? I guess we won. We won. Yeah. Okay.
The scoreboard says we won.
It goes in the W column.
I know. In my heart, it doesn't feel like a true win, even though we did come out. It just didn't really. It felt like obviously the offense was struggling for most of the game, but it had some like spurts of sustained drives, and then they just sputter out or have turnovers, and you're just like, that's annoying. We had a lot kind of hyped up about this game. You had the Cal running back Ott, talking about didn't really respect Auburn that much, and guess what? We held him under 100 yards, and that's pretty solid for a guy of his caliber. And so there were some kind of interesting storylines coming into this. One of the fun ones that I started watching was all the different fans. I even had a few of my friends from college make the trip all the way out to California for this game. And really, it looked like, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it seemed like 20 to 25% of the fans in the stadium were dressed in orange. And that felt pretty cool. Like just for one game, travel all the way out to California. I mean, how does that make you feel, like to have that kind of support all the way out in California, 2,000 plus miles away?
Yeah, I was surprised by the amount of people that went. I mean, I'm grateful for them. I probably would never, think about making that big of a trip, for the game, but it was impressive. I don't know my geography as well as I should. I think it was not terribly far from San Francisco, and I saw a lot of people kind of made it a trip to San Francisco and then, went on up to the Cal's University. But yeah, I think we had a ton of support. I mean, there was one time actually something happened on the field and it got real loud, and I was like, wait, did I miss something? Is it good or bad? Because it was like a point where it was good for Auburn.
Yeah.
And the crowd was loud, and I realized, that's probably our fans. Like, you could hear them on the TV.
Yeah. No, you could really hear them. I even saw one of the beat reporters talk pregame, like right before, everybody right after everybody warms up and they're kind of running back to the tunnel and kind of get ready to come out right before the game. The players ran over to the Auburn section where all the Auburn fans were, and it got pretty loud, and that's pretty cool to see. I mean, not to mention that, but then Tiger Walk was, you saw some of the videos if you follow Auburn social media. It was pretty crazy. I mean, it felt like a kind of like a normal Tiger Walk, but way on the other side of the country. So pretty crazy there. Another kind of couple notable people that we know as big Auburn fans. Tim Cook ended up showing up, and then also Aaron Rodgers wore an Auburn shirt. Now he's not an Auburn fan, obviously, but he had a bet with CJ Uzomah, and he lost the bet because Auburn won. So, that's pretty fun. And then apparently maybe Ronald Acuna from the Braves is also a Braves fan or an Auburn fan. We'll see. He tweeted something like, it's cold, and maybe he's an Auburn fan. That'd be kind of cool, right? And then, of course, we had Bruce Pearl, the great ambassador that he is, travel all the way out to California and support this football team. And just pretty cool just to see again, Bruce is a big supporter of football, and I'm sure Hugh Freeze, once basketball season gets started back up, it'll kind of be a mutual respect thing there where they'll both kind of root each other on. So wanted to talk through another couple storylines here. Let's start out with a positive, the strong defense. How good was it for Auburn in this game to only allow Cal, who I think none of us thought it would be this low scoring, and only allows Cal 10 points? How crazy is it that we held them to that? And some of it was just we stood tall and we forced them to make some long field goals. And thank goodness their kicker just had an off day.
Oh yeah, I mean I can only think of one bad play defensively, and it was pretty obvious they were going to do a QB draw, and we did not have a linebacker that spied him.
Yeah,
That's literally the only bad play. I mean, not only did we only give up 10, I know their kicker missed some field goals, right? But not only did we only give up 10, they basically played on our half of the field almost the entire game. I mean, it was just a weird game. I mean, I don't know how you only give up 10 points. I mean, Cal is not a bad offense. I mean, what did they put the week before?
it was like 50 points.
Yeah, I mean, and again, they weren't playing a great opponent, but I mean, Ott's a great running back. They have a mobile quarterback. They have some weapons, and I mean, even their games last year that they lost, I think a lot of them were close. It was like 45-37 to USC or something like. They put up points. So I am shocked by our defense. And shocked by Asante. I mean, I did not see any of this coming. In fact, if you only showed me our defense and did not tell me what happened on the offense, I would tell you right now, I'd be like, oh, we're winning 10 games. Looking at that defense, I'd be like, I'm changing my prediction. We're winning 10 games. I would be surprised if we don't. And then you're like, wait a minute, let me show you our offense. And I'm like, okay, never mind. we're back to 7, maybe 7 wins.
Yeah. The amount of times, and somebody pulled out the stat, Cal started 4 drives in Auburn's territory, which normally when that happens, it's almost automatic points. Like either it's a field goal, even if you get 1 first down, you get a field goal, maybe not a touchdown, but in those 4 drives in Auburn territory, that only resulted in 3 points the whole game. So for Auburn's defense to do that was just a thing of beauty. And a lot of those field goal kicks, were like 40+ yard field goals, which, for most field goal kickers, that's not automatic. And it was showing. Their kicker was struggling. Now he did drain like a 52-yard field goal, but then there was that fluky hold call, which rarely ever gets called. But hey, I'll take it. It forced them to throw a Hail Mary, and then we got a interception out of it. So that's pretty fun. So pretty crazy that our defense was that good. Especially, I mean, the MVP on defense was for sure Eugene Asante. And probably closely followed by defensive lineman Marcus Harris, because Eugene Asante was everywhere. Like if there was a ball anywhere, he was within a few feet, if not making the tackle. He ended up with 12 tackles, 9 of them being solo, a sack, and a tackle for loss. And he had a pass deflection thrown in there too. So he had one of the best games I've ever seen in a linebacker. And what's crazy is also like he kind of we had some suspicions like he was going to be pretty good, but I was kind of like tempering my expectations. I don't know about you, because we had heard that he was essentially just on the practice squad last year and didn't get a whole lot of play time. And you're thinking, okay, maybe he helps depth wise, but I can't imagine him being like a full-fledged starter. And look at him now. That was way above what I thought about him. And if he can keep that up, like you said, if we can keep that kind of defense up, I think you definitely raise the floor of what Auburn's team can do, even if we have some offensive issues. All right, so let's talk about. Or did you have something to say? Sorry.
No, you're fine. On Asante, I was just. I mean, he probably is going to win SEC Player of the Week. I don't know who had a better game than he did. I mean, he probably just went for a normal tackle, but it might have been on like their last drive or maybe the one before that. I mean, there was a one-on-one, running play. If he misses it, they get the first down, and he buried them. I mean, it wasn't missing last night or at the Cal game. So he was a pleasant sight for a very ugly game.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, the other guy, Marcus Harris, on the stat sheet doesn't necessarily kind of make you. He's literally only had 2 tackles. He had a sack, but the way he was just playing and affecting plays, it was benefiting the team. And again, he's kind of like a lineman that probably won't step out and be like, oh, he's getting 3 sacks a game or something crazy. No, he's just going to be a workhorse in the middle, and that's honestly what we need, especially because in my mind, one of the big areas of concern, even though Eugene Asante was out amazing, even Larry Nixon, another linebacker, was amazing in this game. I still think a weak point is still this linebacker core, and particularly in the depth. And if you can kind of shore that up with guys like Marcus Harris on the defensive line that are kind of help out the linebackers while the linebackers are getting up to speed and becoming better, I think that can be a good balance if the defensive line keeps doing pretty well like they did in this game. Now let's talk about maybe some less fun things that happen. One of them being turnovers. Auburn had 4, and somebody pulled out a crazy stat. Between 2018 and 2022, those football seasons, for NCAA teams that had four kind of turnovers or more, and only recorded 15 or less first downs, guess what? Those teams went 1-65. So only 1 out of 66 games ended up winning. And somehow Auburn was in that stat, which is sad to say. We had 4 turnovers and could not get even 15 first downs. But we somehow managed to get the win. And you know what? I'll take it. Don't get me wrong. I know Hugh Freeze said it, a win is a win, but this feels like a win is a win. And we move on. And in my mind, we got Samford up next week. That gives us some time to maybe shore up some stuff. Now, I don't think you're going to be able to tell too much change is going to happen because we should beat Samford. Spoiler alert for the next podcast. But those are things that we have to clean up, and turnovers is the big one in my mind. Are there any turnovers, any other areas of concern that you saw in this team that you really want us to improve on?
We had some penalties, some costly penalties.
Yeah.
On offense. I mean, we had a couple of big plays, and they were, called back for holding. I mean, every big play we had, turned into either a turnover, which you've hit on, or holding or penalty. So yeah, I mean, we gotta clean that up. Excuse me, just from a being disciplined standpoint. Other than that, I definitely would just, I don't know, I'd like to see more passing. For example, the first touchdown was a drag route. I don't think we've run that in 30 years. I didn't know we could run those at Auburn.
I thought it was illegal or something.
I thought it was illegal. So I think, that was nice. And just I think what we've tried to do is be like, all right, look, we're gonna go out there and run the ball, keep it close to the vest, and get some victories. And I think if nothing else, this game proves that we're just going to go out there and go wide open. I mean, yeah, Thorne may throw a pick, but we're going to have to risk that. Like, we're not going to be able to go out there and just run over anybody. And except, Samford. But when we go to A&M, I guess this could have been a wake up call, saying, all right, we got to go try to win the game. Like, we're going to have to throw the ball around. Just listen, we threw the ball. That last drive, it was just an athlete making plays. I mean, that catch Fairweather made to keep the drive going was insane.
Yep.
And then the throw to the end zone, the fade route, it's just a guy making a play. And I'm like, we went and got dudes that can make plays. Throw them the ball.
Right.
Let's start throwing them the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I wonder if the coaches thought, yeah, we can just run the ball, which, if you look at the stat sheet, we ran the ball 38 times this game, but we only averaged about 3.5 yards per carry. And that's not very good. That is not good when you want to win football games. So you kind of take into account all of that, and you're thinking, yeah, if you want to win the football game, you have to pass the ball a little bit more around. And I get it. Like, sometimes Peyton was looking a little kind of, I don't know, just not in in the right mindset. It felt like wasn't throwing the ball really well. Even like one of the interceptions that he threw, like that one looked like a just wobbly duck, and you're like, that doesn't look normal. Like I've seen so many passes from him from practices or last week, and you're thinking, yeah, this guy can throw the ball. So something was just a little off. Thankfully, it came together on the game-winning drive, but there were kind of concerns there. And I really hope Peyton Thorne, again, this may be a wake-up call for him that, this is what it takes to win. He's played at Michigan State. He knows what it takes to win there, but what does it take to win at Auburn? And you know what? Sometimes you have to like have a little bit of wake-up call, and this may have been one of them for them. Also, kind of interesting thing with I was not expecting us to have necessarily issues with play calling, but this was a week that I was struggling to figure out what we were doing on offense. Like it looked very predictable. Kind of looked like sometimes very predictable, like you would get towards the end of Gus Malzahn's tenure at Auburn. And I was just scratching my head. It looked very boring, kind of not what I was expecting, considering what we saw in the first week. Now again, it's UMass. I don't think UMass is that good, but what was your take on kind of the offensive play calling? Because I think that plays a key piece in what was happening on offense.
I don't, we always see Peyton Thorne. The camera's only on him, so I don't know if some of these calls were good calls and he was missing the receiver. I don't know what was going on. It did seem like they were not helping him much get in the rhythm. Like, I don't know if your quarterback's struggling. I just feel like slant routes and screens are just so easy to get him in a rhythm, right? And we weren't, he may have been missing guys, but it was, he was doing deep drops. It was like we were looking for deep stuff. And I'm like, this guy's not in a rhythm. Like, help him out.
Yeah.
I don't mean this towards I don't care who you decide to go with. We got to stop the in and out quarterback. I mean, you can't get in a rhythm that way. I absolutely.
Or if you do it, you have to do it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Like bring in Robbie on, 1st and 5 at the goal line. Something like that where you're like, all right, Peyton Thorne knows it's coming and Robbie knows it's coming. They're ready. Because there were even times this game where it felt like when they were switching them out, they had to call a timeout because they didn't know what was going on. What was the play call? I mean, you shouldn't just swap out quarterbacks. Like you should have a plan and the players know the plan. And maybe that's something. I mean, if I'm Hugh Freeze, if I'm seeing it, I'm sure Hugh Freeze and Philip Montgomery, the offensive coordinator, are seeing it. You got to get that right. If you get that right, then I think there's spots where you can use Robbie Ashford. But I still think like you got to go with one quarterback for a majority of it, just because of game flow, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you make a point. Somebody told me, I don't know where they found this info. They said that Hugh called that timeout at the end when Robbie went in, and because Hugh's basically not calling the plays or involved, and
Yep.
I think Hugh called that timeout and said, no, here's what we're going to run, and that's when they ran the fade to Fairweather. Listen. I didn't know what to expect of Thorne. After first game, I was like, man, he's got great pocket presence. This could be good. Second game, he did not have good pocket presence. He looked rattled. He did not look like a third-year quarterback. But also, I don't know, it's second game in the system. So here's what I will say. I think Thorne is probably our best chance to run a full-blown offense. And Thorne in a rhythm is your best chance. And so I just think I'm with you. Like, I don't mind Robbie coming. I like Robbie a lot. I think Robbie should probably get a couple snaps a game, but it needs to have a meaning behind it. You're right. Instead of just, we're just going to 2nd and 7, throw Robbie in there in the middle of the field.
Yeah. That was kind of that's my point. Like, it felt like it was just kind of out of sorts. Nobody knew what they were really doing. And, that's something, you can kind of scrimmage and, game plan a little bit for that. Before you even come to the game. So, I mean, I'd rather, again, get this out of our system, considering we got to win, figure that out. Before we go, in my mind, first big test, besides Cal, is Texas A&M. And we're going to Texas A&M, which now I'm not as scared, but obviously we're going to Aggie Nation, College Station, whatever you want to call them out there. The Collie Dogs. It's gonna be a tough fight, but I think it's a little bit more winnable now. Um, let's talk about some of the other players. We talked a little bit about Rivaldo, but I wanted to hit on something else. I mean, we didn't see him at UMass, catching anything. It didn't feel like we were running any plays to him, and we had just heard, you and I had heard a lot about him in the offseason, just because he's a big guy, physical, and we were like, where's this guy coming? Like, when is he going to start making his presence known on the football field? And he did so. I mean, he had 3 really good catches this game. One over the middle of the field, which again, that's amazing. Love middle of the field passes. And then secondly, the big catch, 28 yards that kept that drive going. And then obviously the touchdown that everybody has seen now, where you just give him a shot, and you're like, that's awesome. Again, he's an athlete, let him do his thing. So really excited to see what he can do, because I'm sure we will use him and use him a lot, because Hugh Freeze loves the big wide receivers, or in this case, kind of a tight end that's very much a receiving tight end. And man, if we can keep using him, the future is bright for that tight end room. Let's also talk about a few more things. Let's talk about defense, and then we'll kind of round things out with special teams. Jaden Ott, he made that comment about not really respecting Auburn. Keeping him under 100 yards is pretty darn good. Actually, it was 78 total yards, average under 4 yards a carry, which, that's fine. But to win football games, you need a little bit more than that. And sure enough, Auburn, you could see they pinned their ears back, and they knew exactly where he was. So love to see that. Any other kind of big players beside Eugene Asante, and anybody else that kind of stood out to you from this game?
Overall, or just on defense?
On defense.
Kaufman played good. He came out of that game. I don't know. I haven't heard an update on him.
Yeah.
He seems to also
maybe concussion. Was that
okay?
Was that right? But I haven't heard anything concrete.
I hadn't either. If that's the case, he probably will miss Sanford. He just seems to be there when he's needed as well. The DBs. I felt like I don't know. The last 15 years, it's been like when the ball's in the air, we just panic and pass interfere, and I don't think we're doing that as much this year.
Yeah, that was very encouraging.
Yeah, so I like to see that. And then just all in all, man, I know you're asking on individual players, but I didn't say this earlier. I just, we've had bend but don't break for so long, and I know we're going to get burned occasionally this year doing this, but how fun is it watching us attack? We are bringing it.
Yeah. Yeah, how many times, as good as I'm thinking about like Kevin Steele's defense, that was just so good, but it was kind of bend but don't break kind of defense. And now you're seeing a Ron Roberts defense that is just attacking. It felt like, maybe I'm exaggerating, but like every other play, we were bringing a little extra pressure that they weren't expecting, and that's going to pay off. Like how many times I saw like a corner kind of blitzing or a linebacker blitzing, and they weren't expecting it, and they get to the quarterback, may not result necessarily in a sack, but it hurries the quarterback and causes an incompletion, which is just about as good. And sometimes even better, because that gets in the quarterback's head that the guy's running at me, a 250-pound dude's running straight at my face, and I'm about to get creamed. So, that's the kind of fun stuff that I am loving about this defense that is different than what we've had of defenses in the past.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. We had a few guys that were kind of standouts, especially on the secondary. DJ James at the very end, obviously got the interception that kind of sealed the game with about 2 minutes left to play. Jalen Simpson right before half got an interception. That was that Hail Mary. That was fun. Keontae Scott did pretty good on defense as well. Obviously also had a pretty good time as a kick returner. Had a 12-yard return. So, pretty good things for him there. Let's talk about special teams just for a little bit. Obviously, the Cal kicker messed up. That holding call, I think, on a 52-yard field goal, kind of weird. But hey, I'm an Auburn fan, and I will take it. I don't know about you, Jared, but sometimes college football feels like you got to have a little luck to win these kind of games, and that felt like kind of like that doesn't normally get called, and felt a little lucky there. And then it was also, when at the very beginning of the game, Peyton Thorne fumbled, and one of the officials blew it dead, when that probably would have been a scoop and score pretty much kind of deal. So I felt a little lucky, and I'm okay with it for now, but we can't rely on just being lucky the whole time. We also had for kick returners, Brian Bitsy. He had one kickoff return that he got only out to like the 12-yard line. I think we had a holding call or something going on, and they got pushed back to like the 6. And I was like, oh man, he was my player to watch. And he did okay, but obviously I think he can do better in the kick return game. For kickers, we had Alex McPherson. He just made a couple extra points. Oscar Chapman had a day. He did have, I think, one really bad punt. It was only maybe like a 40-yard punt. It was maybe 30-yard punt. It was really bad. But he had a few that were close to 50 yards. And those didn't have any returns. So, in kind of the grand scheme of things, it kind of evened out what he can do. And I think he's he could be an all SEC type kicker if he continues what he's done in the past at Auburn. So, any other final thoughts about this game against Cal? Things that you liked, maybe things you didn't like, any kind of general themes that you're seeing, anything like that?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. I mean, at the end of the day, defense right now, this could change. Right now, they're playing well enough to win some SEC games we probably didn't think we'd win. And I think special teams, all in all, is pretty on par with what we probably thought. Offense, yeah, back to the drawing board, man. We got to figure something out. But here's the positive. Although we've had some offensive minds lately and it hadn't worked out, but I mean, this is what they do, right? This is what Hugh does. So, I guess it's better that's needing to be fixed, because I think we have some pretty good minds in that room that can do that.
Yeah.
They're learning these guys. Those guys. I mean, Peyton Thorne wasn't even here in the spring. I mean,
he just showed up in May or June.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys are new. And listen, I don't think, because I know some people are listening like, y'all guys are crazy. I don't think Peyton Thorne's great. Okay, I don't think he's great. But I think Peyton Thorne is a very serviceable quarterback that if players around him help him out and he's put in the right position, you can win some games you're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
I think he is capable of that and leading a team. But we gotta go back to the drawing board, man, because what we did against Cal is that's not going to win too many games.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, it almost lost us the game against Cal, and honestly, I think after playing Cal, I mean, they're probably going to win 4 or maybe 5 games this season, so they're not going to be that good. And if we do that kind of performance against any SEC opponent that we've got ahead of us, it's not going to be good. So you got to figure that stuff out. And, I keep kind of coming back to the thought that offenses, especially new offenses, because in my mind, this is like Philip Montgomery's, and then also kind of a combination of Hugh Freeze's offense. And then it's just brand new players. So you got a lot of things up in the air. It's going to take time to really, truly figure out what's working and what's not, because you've only been going up against your own defense for a while, and you can only tell so much after running some plays in practice, where obviously it starts to kind of the rubber meets the road per se is during these games. And this is some of those games that I think, this is a game where I think we learned some stuff not to do. Now figure out what to do in other games, and maybe we can go shock a few teams. Maybe go out to Texas A&M, beat them. You never know. Maybe shock either Georgia or Bama. No, probably not Georgia. As much as it pains me, but maybe Bama. They look, pretty. They look like pretty beatable team right now. So that's pretty neat to see. And of course, we play Bama at the end of the year, so you got some time to figure stuff out like that. So. All right, Jared. Before we get out of here, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY, JAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.